Al-Hadid, Allah says, why hasn't your heart moved yet? Why haven't you felt anything yet when you hear my words? أَن تَخْشَعَ قُلُوبُهُمْ لِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ وَمَا نَزَلَ مِنَ الْحَقِّ. And he says, this isn't the first time this happened, you know. Isn't it already time right now for those who claim that they believe, أَن تَخْشَعَ قُلُوبُهُمْ لِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ, that their hearts should be filled with awe, they should be overwhelmed with feelings of Allah's power because of remembering Allah. Allah says, isn't it yet time yet that your heart felt something? Like, you know, when you're listening to a message, when you're reading a message, your mind processes it. You understand what's being said. Allah says that's not enough. Allah wants your heart to feel something. Allah wants you to feel overwhelmed by the remembrance of Allah. What remembrance of Allah does He mean? He makes the bayan of that Himself. He says, وَمَا نَزَلَ مِنَ الْحَقِّ. That is to say, aren't their hearts filled with awe? Aren't they overwhelmed by what they hear from what came down from the truth, meaning Quran itself? Isn't it already time right now that you should feel something in your heart because of the Quran that's being read to you? Because of the Quran that you get to hear? Why hasn't that happened yet? He asked that really scary question. أَلَمْ يَأْنِ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَن تَخْشَعَ قُلُوبُهُمْ لِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ. This same Quran that we hear in Salah, that we're standing in Taraweeh and listening to, that maybe you're in a super Islamic mode this month and you're even playing some recitation in the car when you're driving, but nothing's happening to my heart. I'm not feeling anything. I don't feel tears come down my eyes. I don't feel overwhelmed. You know, when somebody else gives me good news, somebody calls me and says, hey, I graduated, you're overwhelmed with joy. When somebody else says, I had a car accident, you're overwhelmed with fear. These feelings happen when other people give us a message of good news or bad news. But when Allah gives good news and bad news, when Allah gives advice, when Allah counsels, nothing happens. My heart is exactly where it was. It's just pretty sounds that are going on. And for some of us, look, Quran is being recited, or you just hit play in the car, and you're having a conversation, and Quran's playing in the background. It's like background music for you now. You know, this is فَإِذَا قُرِئَ الْقُرْآنِ. Then, you know, Allah Azza wa Jalla says, فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ وَأَنصِتُوا. Listen to it carefully and silence. Be quiet. Quran is being recited. This is the word of Allah being recited. This is, as soon as it's being recited, whether it's an MP3 you're playing, or some app, or whatever, it's not just a file that you just hit play on. These are the words of Allah. You're supposed to be in awe and say, shh, Allah is talking. And if you really want to have that conversation, pause and have your conversation. You know, sometimes you go to restaurants in Ramadan, usually they're playing music in the background. Right? In Ramadan, they're playing Quran in the background. And every time I go to a restaurant that's playing Quran in the background, I literally respectfully go and ask, can you please turn that off? And I'm like, wait, you're the guy with the beard. You're supposed to say, turn that up, yo. But you know what? People are talking in the restaurant. People are engaged in conversation. People are socializing. How are they socializing with the words of Allah, just background noise? This is the Kalimatullahi al-Uliya. This is the word of Allah, that it's in the highest place. If we can't give it that respect, then we shouldn't be listening to it at the time. If you're going to listen to it, then drop everything else. Drop everything else. Be silent. Be in humility before the word of Allah. And if we can't feel that towards the word of Allah, then how is it that what Allah is saying is going to make us feel anything? First, you have to have a respect for it. You have to have an appreciation for what magnificent thing this is. These words. We didn't deserve these words. And humanity did not deserve these words. This is a gift. قُلْ بِفَضْلِ اللَّهِ وَبِرَحْمَتِهِ. Tell them this is an extra favor from Allah, and it's coming by His rahmah alone. We did not deserve the word of Allah. فَبِذَلِكَ فَلْيَفْرَحُوا. They should be overwhelmed with joy because of this Quran. هُوَ خَيْرٌ مِمَّا يَجْمَعُونَ. It's better than anything they can collect. No treasure they will ever have is going to compare to this Quran.